Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're opening up a file that on the surface looks like your standard racing story, you know?
Right. It's got the usual suspects, cars, tracks, lap times.
Yeah, but if you actually read through the logs and the engineering notes we have here, it's really a masterclass in decision making.
Oh, absolutely.
It's basically a case study on the sunk cost fallacy, knowing exactly when to put the wrench down and change your tools entirely.
It is a fascinating story. And we're looking at a very specific, very intense corner of the motorsport world today called time attack.
Right, and we should probably frame this for everyone listening before we jump in, because when you hear racing, you probably think of Formula One or NASCAR.
Or Mario Kart.
Exactly, yeah. You think of cars bumping into each other, fighting for position, going into a corner. But time attack it's totally different.
Completely different. There's no blocking. There are no defensive lines. There's no racecraft in the traditional sense.
Like you and the clock.
Right. Time attack is basically solitary confinement with physics. You have the track, you have your machine, and you're just trying to extract the absolute theoretical maximum performance over a single flying lap.
Which sounds incredibly stressful, honestly. There's literally no one to blame but yourself if you mess up.
Exactly. And the margins we're talking about today are insane. I mean, in professional racing, teams will spend millions of dollars to find like 0.2 of a second.
Right.
But in this story, we're analyzing a driver who managed to find 10 full seconds of pace.
Which is astronomical.
It's an eternity.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't race, shaving 10 seconds off a lap time on a 2.5-mile track,
Yeah.
that's the difference between driving a sporty commuter car to get groceries and driving a dedicated race car.
Right. He went from a 1.51 lap time in 2020 to a 1.41.884 in 2025.
And to do that, he had to completely rethink his entire philosophy on how to build a car.
He really did.
So let's introduce our protagonist. He's a competitive driver in the Global Time Attack series, specifically running in the street class. And his journey starts back in 2020 at Ridge Motorsports Park up in Washington State.
But he's not in the car that eventually breaks the record,
Right, he starts out in a Honda S2000.
which is a legendary platform. I mean, the S2000 is usually the answer to everything in track driving. It's light, high-revving engine, perfectly balanced.
But this specific S2000 was a bit of a Frankenstein build, wasn't it? It had a V6 engine swap.
Yeah, which sounds really cool on paper. You take a small car, stuff a bigger engine in it, you get more torque, more power. But looking at the logs from 2020, it didn't exactly go to plan.
Not at all. It was a classic tuner car nightmare. He managed a 1.51 lap time, which got him 7th place, but the car literally ate itself.
Cracked valve retainers.
Yeah, ended his weekend early. And this really sets the stage for the central conflict here.
Right, because when you take a chassis like the S2000 and start Frankensteining it with engine swaps just to chase horsepower, your reliability just falls off a cliff.
And while he's in the pits fixing valves and dealing with all these mechanical headaches, there's a benchmark being set out on the track. There's a driver named Amir driving an Acura NSX.
Oh, wow, yes. We need to talk about this car.
Because this was essentially the final boss of the street class.
Oh, absolutely. This was the RS Future NSX. It was a dedicated, purpose-built weapon. We're talking about a car stripped down to 2,300 pounds.
Which is nothing.
Right. For context, a modern Honda Civic weighs around 3,000 pounds. So this thing is an absolute featherweight. It had a turbocharged K20 engine, pumping 450 horsepower to the wheels, full aero, and a dog box transmission.
I saw dog box mentioned a few times in the notes. Just to clarify for the listeners, that's not a standard transmission.
No, not at all. A dog box is a racing transmission where the gears have these large teeth or dogs that engage instantly. You don't even need to use the clutch to shift up.
You just slam it into gear.
You just bang the lever, exactly. It's loud, it's violent, and it's incredibly fast. Not something you want to drive to the grocery store.
So Amir, in this monster NSX, sets the record in 2020 with a 1.44.1. And in 2021, he lowers his own record to a 1.42.602.
That's flying.
Meanwhile, our protagonist in the S2000 is getting faster. He hits a 1.47 in 2021, gets 2nd place in round 5, but he's hitting a wall. In 2022, he maxes out at a 1.46.9.
Yeah, this is the plateau phase that every engineer or racer dreads. He did the math. To bridge that 4-second gap to the NSX, he realized the S2000 had hit its physical limit.
He just couldn't do it.
Right. To go faster, he would need to double the horsepower, which means a new transmission, a new differential, custom axles.
And the tires. That seemed to be the biggest bottleneck in the notes.
Oh, definitely. Physics is all about the contact patch, how much rubber is actually touching the road. The NSX was running massive 295 millimeter with tire.
huge.
Massive. And to fit a 295 tire on a tiny Honda S2000, you have to basically take a saw to the bodywork.
Just cutting the fenders off.
Exactly. You're cutting fenders, installing wide-body kits, messing with the factory suspension geometry.
Yeah.
You are effectively redesigning the car from scratch to be something it was never meant to be.
So he's at a crossroads here. He can either spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to force the S2000 to be this supercar slayer, or he can change the platform entirely.
Enter the build versus buy debate. In 2022, after getting beaten by a couple of Toyota Supras, he gets an offer to test drive one. Specifically, the GR Supra, the A90 generation.
This is that modern BMW-Toyota collaboration car. And this test drive wasn't even on a racetrack, right?
No, it was just around the neighborhood. Fellow racer Ryan Frazier let him take it for a spin, but that was enough for the light bulb moment.
Really, just around the block.
Yeah, he drove it and realized, wait a minute, this car fits 295 tires straight from the factory.
No cutting required.
No cutting, no wide body kits. The wheel wells are just naturally massive.
That is a huge engineering advantage right out of the box. You start with the grip you need without having to hack the car apart.
Precisely. And the drivetrain, the engine, the transmission, the axles, they all are severely over-engineered from the factory. In the S2000, 500 horsepower makes the transmission explode.
Right.
But in the Super, the B58 engine and that ZF 8-speed transmission can handle 500, 600, even 700 horsepower without even opening the engine block.
So he makes the call, he sells the S2000, he buys the Supra, the mission is locked in. Build a global time attack street class Supra to take the overall record.
But as we know in racing, progress is never a straight line.
Never. So let's talk about the teething years,
Yeah.
specifically 2023.
Right, 2023 was the debut. He shows up to GTA with the freshly built Supra, and right out of the gate, on his very first competition lap, he runs a 1.43.2.
That is incredible. He was struggling to hit a 1.47 in the S2000 after years of development.
Yeah?
She jumps in the Supra and instantly drops 4 seconds.
It validated the platform switch immediately. He won street class and was only 0.6 seconds off the overall record on his first try.
But then the complexity of modern cars reared its ugly head. The rest of the event was ruined by limp mode.
The two scariest words for a modern car enthusiast.
For those who don't know, what is actually happening when a car goes into limp mode?
It's self-preservation. The car's computer, the ECU, detects a sensor reading that is slightly out of range. So to prevent damage, it cuts power drastically, basically making the car limp home.
And in this case, the logs say it was a Vanos deviation.
Vanos, yeah. That's BMW's variable valve timing system. Think of it as the car's respiratory rhythm. It controls exactly when the valves open to let air in and out of the engine.
Yep.
The computer saw a glitch in that timing, got scared, and just said, nope, party's over, shut him down. So the proof of concept was there. He had the pace, but the reliability wasn't.
Which brings us to 2024, the lost season. This was supposed to be the year. He's running consistent 1.42.0s in practice with on-grid events. He is ready to break the record. And then the logistics snag.
It's almost comical if it wasn't so frustrating. His preferred tires, the Nankang CRS, were literally stuck in a shipping container at a port. He just couldn't get the rubber he needed.
Supply chain strikes again, so he has to scramble for tires. But then, the weekend before the big GTA event, he decides to go mountain biking.
Which is a very risky move right before a race.
Yeah, sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
And he crashes the bike. Concussion, broken bones. The 2024 record attempt was scrapped before he even got to the starting line.
Which is brutal. But it brings us to 2025, the comeback.
He's healed up, the car is ready, but Global Time Attack decides to throw a massive curveball. They changed the street class rules for 2025.
This is a huge factor in the story. Remember why he bought the Supra in the first place.
Right, to run those wide 295 tires without cutting the body.
Exactly. Well, for 2025, the new rule limited tire width to an average of 275 millimeters.
Ouch. So the rulebook literally outlawed his main advantage.
It did. He had spent years dialing in the suspension and handling for the massive grip of a 295 tire. Now, he had to beat Amir's 1.42.6 record with significantly less rubber on the road, and he had zero experience with this new setup.
That adds so much pressure. So let's go to race day, early 2025, Ridge Motorsports Park. The goal is to beat the 1.42.6, and he estimates a 1.42.0 is possible if the stars align.
Right?
Updates to the car are minimal, new front brake pads, and those narrower 275 Nankang tires on Apex VS5RS wheels. Plus, just getting there was a nightmare. A 3-hour drive took over 6 hours because of heavy rain and traffic.
And that rain played a huge part. Saturday morning was overcast with spitting rain. The track itself was dry, but it was what we call a green track.
I see this term a lot in the race logs. Explain green track for me. Usually green means go, so that sounds good, but here it's a bad thing.
Yeah, in racing, a green track is usually much slower. When cars race, the tires wear down and leave a thin layer of rubber on the asphalt. That rubber-on-rubber contact actually increases grip.
It makes the track faster.
Exactly. But when it rains heavily, all that built-up rubber gets washed away. The asphalt is clean or green. It offers way less traction until cars run on it for a few hours to lay rubber back down.
So he's on narrower tires, zero experience with the setup, on a green track with less grip. The odds are just not in his favor. He goes out for the Saturday morning session. Lap 1 is a shakedown, a 1.45.4. Then comes lap 2.
This is where it gets wild. He crosses the finish line on lap 2. He looks at his in-car timer, a Garmin Catalyst, and it flashes a shocking 1.41.89.
He shattered the record on his second lap. But looking at the notes, he didn't even believe it.
He refused to believe it, and for good reason. During that lap, there were actually yellow flags waving at turn 1 and turn 3.
Because someone crashed.
Yeah, a GT3 Cup car. A proper factory-built race car had gone off track into the trees.
Yikes. So he had to slow down for that.
He had to lift off the gas significantly for the crash zone. So in his mind, he's thinking, there's no way I broke the record while actively slowing down for a wreck.
Makes sense.
Plus, he had some serious trust issues with that Garmin timer. It had been glitching and losing satellite connections at previous events.
Right, so he's sitting there in the car thinking, this machine is just lying to me. So he stays out. He keeps pushing. Lap 3 is a 1.42.3.
Still faster than the old record, but not that magic 1.41.
Then he goes for one last flyer on lap 4, and the Garmin display is 1.41.88. He comes into pit lane, checks the official timing transponder data, and it's confirmed. Official time, 1.41.884.
He beat the class record by 0.8 seconds. In time attack, 0.8 of a second is a massive gap. It was a totally decisive victory.
I love his reaction here in the notes. He jokes to a friend, mission accomplished, time to pack up and go home.
The ultimate mic drop. But, being a racer, he didn't actually go home. He went back out in the afternoon sessions to see if he could go even faster.
But he didn't, right? The track actually got slower.
It did. And this brings up a really interesting point about tire thermodynamics. As the day went on, the rear tires were overheating and getting really loose on corner entry.
Getting greasy.
Exactly. When a tire gets too hot, the rubber stops gripping and just starts sliding.
Mm-hmm.
So he made a mechanical adjustment. He reduced the rear rebound to help with corner entry.
Let's unpack that for the non-mechanics listening.
Right.
What does reducing rear rebound actually do?
So suspension has two main jobs: compression absorbing the bump and rebound extending the wheel back down to the road. If your rebound is too stiff, the wheel doesn't get back to the pavement fast enough after weight transfer.
Okay.
By reducing the rebound damping, he allowed the rear shocks to extend faster, trying to force that overheating tire to keep better contact with the road surface.
It just shows that even after breaking the record, the engineering mind never shuts off.
Wow.
Always trying to optimize.
Always.
Now, let's look at race day 2, Sunday. The forecast said it was going to be warmer, which logic suggests should be faster.
Usually, yes. But Sunday's track was a mess. It was incredibly dirty. And the culprit was drifting.
Ah, the drifters. They share the track on weekends.
Yeah, and there had been 4 sessions of drifting on Saturday, plus a rolling photo shoot where cars were driving way off the racing line. This created a condition called OPR, other people's rubber.
That sounds unpleasant.
It is a nightmare for time attack. When drift cars slide, they tear huge chunks of rubber off their tires. This debris or slag just sits on the track surface.
Like driving on marbles.
Exactly. When our driver went out, his hot, sticky tires acted like a vacuum cleaner. Instead of gripping the clean asphalt, his tires were just picking up this loose rubber. He spent the first 3 laps of Sunday just trying to scrub that garbage off his tires.
And despite all that, there was a really heartbreaking moment in the final session. The ghost lap.
Oh man, this part hurts to read. He's out there in the final session. He feels fast. He crosses the line, and the Garmin screens 1.41.40.
Which would have absolutely crushed his record from the day before.
He must have been ecstatic, but it was a massive letdown. When he got back to the pits, the official timing said 1.42.52.
The Garmin lied again.
The Garmin was flaky. It likely lost satellite signal for a split second, essentially teleported the car forward on the map, and calculated a phantom lap.
That is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
So the Saturday morning time stood. But there is a really fascinating technical detail that came out of Sunday's struggle with the conditions. There were other cars there, GT3 Cup cars, GT3 RSs, really high-end, purpose-built machinery.
Right.
And they were running like 4 miles per hour slower on Sunday, seconds off their pace due to the poor atmospheric conditions, heat, low air density. But the Supra, it hit 151 miles per hour. Didn't lose top speed at all.
This is the Supra's engineering secret weapon.
Why did the Toyota hold its power when the expensive German race cars were just gasping for air?
It comes down to the brain of the car, the ECU. Those Porsches are naturally aspirated. They rely entirely on the air available. If the air is hot and thin, they make less power. Physics wins.
And the Supra is turbocharged.
True, but it's not just the turbo, it's how the computer manages it. The Supra uses a logic called load-based targeting.
Break that down for us.
Most older turbocharged cars work on a fixed map. They say, at this RPM, add this much boost. If the air is bad, you still just get that fixed amount of boost, resulting in less power.
Right.
The Supra's computer works backward. It says, I want to achieve exactly 500 Newton meters of torque right now. It has a torque goal, not a boost goal.
So if the sensors detect that the air is hot and thin,
The computer calculates the difference and commands the turbo to spin faster. It creates more boost to compensate for the bad air, forcing the engine to hit that target horsepower regardless of the weather.
that is so smart. It's like the car has its own survival instinct to give you the same result every time.
It gives you incredible consistency. While everyone else was fading, the Supra maintained its pace perfectly.
So wrapping up the event, it wasn't just a win, it was a total dominance. He took first place in street class, reset the rear-wheel drive record, and reset the overall street class record.
And here is the kicker. The top 3 cars in street class were all Supras.
Supra supremacy.
Ryan took second, Joseph took third. It really validates the decision to ditch the S2000. For this specific rule set, the Supra is just the superior tool.
And what's crazy to me is the build philosophy. You look at a record-breaking car, you expect exotic parts everywhere. But the author says the car is far from optimized.
That's the most surprising part of the logs. It uses the stock drivetrain, standard unleaded fuel, stock fuel system except for injectors. But the wildest part is the brakes.
Yeah, it uses stock brake calipers on a car doing 151 miles per hour and slamming on the binders for a corner.
Obviously, he changed the pads, but keeping the factory calipers just shows how over-engineered that base platform is. His philosophy was reliability over complexity. He wanted a car that could run 20-minute hot lap sessions all day without braking.
Stark contrast to the S2000 days of cracked valves.
Exactly.
He did give some great shout-outs to other drivers in the write-up, too. Bailey set a limited class record in an E36 M3. Teddy set a front-wheel drive enthusiast record in a Civic Type R.
And Kevin.
Yes, Kevin. Winning the unlimited class in a Chevy S10 race truck. We definitely need to find the logs for that truck and do a deep dive on it.
Oh, I am completely in for that.
So what's next for our record holder? He's planning on better braking and oil cooling, but he's considering jumping up a class, right? To limited class.
Yeah, limited class allows for weight reduction and serious aero. And he did the math. He calculated that with no changes other than putting 305 with slick tires on the car, which are allowed in limited, he would already be on the podium in that faster class.
That is terrifying for the competition. He's basically saying, I can come into your class with my street car and beat you just by changing my shoes.
It certainly puts them on notice.
So, bringing this back to you listening, what is the takeaway here? Is it just go out and buy a Supra?
I think it's bigger than that. It speaks to the democratization of speed. You used to need a miserable, stripped-out, custom-built race car to set track records, like that 2,300-pound NSX. But now, you take a relatively simple build on a modern platform, keep the stock drivetrain, and you can dethrone highly specialized race cars.
It really is the S2000 versus Supra engineering challenge. Sometimes we bang our heads against the wall trying to optimize a tool that has already reached its limit. We fall in love with the project, the S2000, and we ignore the data.
Exactly. Sometimes the key to winning isn't driving harder, it's choosing the right tool for the job.
It makes you wonder about the future of racing, too. When you have these modern platforms with ECUs doing load-based targeting, compensating for weather in real time, the software is becoming just as critical as the hardware.
Oh, without a doubt. The digital tuning game is completely redefining what a grassroots racer can achieve before they even hit the track.
Makes you look at your own projects, whether it's a car, a business, or just a hobby, and ask, are you driving an S2000 when you should be looking for a Supra? Food for thought. That's all for today's deep dive. We'll catch you next time.